Hi, Joe Cerrone. Welcome to CAD 116 Basic AutoCAD in our weekly Zoom meeting. This week, we're working on Module 2. Module 2 has three components to it. It has this general design assignment, which is a number 1. And there's a video for it along with the PDF here. Let's take a look at the PDF. So essentially, this general design exercise is how to use absolute coordinates, relative coordinates, and relative polar coordinates. And as we look at this number 1, we have an origin or a 0 position right here. This would be the x-axis and this would be the y-axis. So the starting point would be 2 units over and 1 unit up. So x would be 2, y would be 1. And then we can calculate the coordinates for all these other points. You have a compass over here, which shows you directions, 0 being at 3 o'clock, 90 being at 12 o'clock, 180 being at 9 o'clock, and then 270 being at 6 o'clock. And the reason they put that on there is because we used to have to type in all the coordinates with this relative polar type of a system. And so as you look at these points, what we'll do is we'll start off by creating the first point at 2, 1, and then we'll hit the down arrow. They changed something on it because you didn't have to used to say pound 2, 4. But we'll just do these 2 coordinates. And if I switch over to my drawing here on CAD, and then let me bring back my curriculum on my second monitor here. So we would start off with our first point being at 2, 1. And what I'll do is I'll just switch to a different color here. Let me switch over to a drafting workspace. And then I'm going to turn off show my menu bar. And then what I'll do is I will start off by, let's go with red, line command. The first coordinate, 2, 1, enter. And what that'll do is it'll bring it to that exact point. And then we hit the down arrow. We type in pound 2, 4, enter. And that didn't work. And so I'm not sure why it's not giving me that. Let's type in 2, 4. Let's see if that, nope, undo. And then we'll type in the next point. There it goes. 2, 4, enter. Pound symbol 3, 4. And you can see that it's following the outline. Now, there wouldn't be an outline there if I didn't have one, but since I do, I'm just going through what's called absolute coordinate entry. And so if I go to the next point, I'd say pound 3, 8. And that would be 3 units over in the x-axis and 8 units up in the y-axis. And so essentially, we're learning how to use these absolute coordinates. If I switch back over to the assignment sheet, you're to basically create this number 1 using absolute coordinates and relative polar. We really don't use relative rectangular coordinates, but the relative polar coordinates are important because very often you'll have a line at a specific angle and a vector. And by using relative polar, you can create that geometry. And so if I wanted to make a line 2 inches long at a 45-degree angle, what I would do is I would say from this point, I'd say at 2 less than symbol 45. And what that will do is it'll give me a 2-inch line at a 45-degree angle like that. And if I wanted to go through and give it a measurement, I could put a measurement on there, and you can see that that's 2 inches. So the first assignment is to use these coordinates to create this number 1. That's our general assignment. If you look at the video, I've gone through and worked that problem for you. Setting up the units. And then going through and just demonstrating how to create this with the line command. And then we save it and turn it into the Dropbox. So that's the first assignment, back to the main splash page. And then you can choose either the mechanical or the architectural assignment. And so if we go to the content area, let's see if we have videos for those. We should have videos in the content area. So if I go to content, and then we look at module 2. And let me unhide that. If you were trying to get to it, I apologize. That was not visible at this time. So module 2 has our PDF for the architectural assignment. And here's a YouTube tutorial for that. And so here's the module 2 architectural assignment. It's basically a floor plan. You will need to use the architectural title block for that, because that title block is already set up with the proper units, units being architectural. And then there's a video for how to create that. So it's a 14-minute video. Some of these go back to the AutoCAD website. And so we create the outside perimeter of the walls. We trim, create the table. And then there's a second table in that conference room. Now we're using blocks to get this desk chair using Design Center. And they've changed Design Center. So what we've done is we've put the chair in the chapter 2. So as you're working with the assignment, what you want to do is you want to look at the chair here, and you can download it. And then you can open that. So there's my chair. Al has all of these set up so that they're either 3D or 2D, depending on which direction you're looking at them. If we look at them from the top, they're 2D. If we look at them from an isometric, they're 3D. And then what you want to do is you want to say, copy with a base point. And so you can say copy with the base point. You can also Control C and Control V, I believe it'll work. So here's my base point, and let's put it on the front of the chair in the midpoint. And then we select the object and hit enter. And then we go into our Arc Lab in model space. And then we can paste that chair in. So I can say edit, paste, or paste as block. Let's just go with regular paste. And so I can paste that chair in. Let's just put it right here. And then what we can do is we can use the array command. And so if I take these out, got a slightly bigger chair this time. And then what we would do is use the polar array. And so I'd select array, polar, select my chair, hit enter, select the center point. And I'm not sure why I'm not getting an O snap for the center point, probably because it's not enabled. It is enabled, maybe it's just a glitch. And so as I look at it, sometimes I hold shift right mouse key and override that and select center. So I definitely get it. And then the number of chairs that we have. And that looks about right. Looks like we had 6 chairs. It's kind of a neat thing where you can kind of figure out like how many chairs you can actually fit at a table, and you can then work with your capacity. Anybody who's ever planned a wedding knows how that works. And And so we can get 8 chairs around the table. That's probably about it. I think if we went to 9 chairs, we'd be pretty crowded, but it looks like you can get it. I don't know if everybody would be able to get in close enough to tuck their chairs in, but 10 looks like the maximum if they're not going to put those chairs under the table. I'm going to dial it back to 6. It'll calculate the distance between them. I like to leave these unassociated, meaning that I can treat the chairs as individual objects. Back to the main splash page. And here's the YouTube video for that. Here's the B-size architectural title block that you'll use to create that drawing. And that's how you would work the architectural drawing. And then if you decide to do the mechanical drawing, we have 2 other additional bonus drawings for you with that. Here's the PDF. And it's just this 3 by 3 inch square piece of aluminum with 2 slots and a hole in it. And then if we come back to our chapter 2 lab assignments, in module 2, we can see that there is a YouTube video how to create that lab. I'm using my AutoCAD website that I developed years ago before they had D2L. You're welcome to go there. I have quite a bit of content at autocad.com. And we go through and we create the geometry for this. Make sure you put your center lines on the center line layer. Hidden lines on the hidden line layer. You can see I projected it over to the side view. Added the center lines, and then put the dimensions on the dimension line layer. And your dimensions should be 2 decimal places of accuracy. If you're not sure how to do that, what you need to do is in your annotate dimension style, you modify the dimension style where it says primary units, and you set the precision at 2 decimal point units, or 2 units from the decimal point. All right, so there's the video for the mechanical. You're to create that in model space and then create a viewport. If you decide to model it in 3D, I can show you how to do that in that video as well. But that's bonus. You don't have to model it. Okay. There's 2 other additional bonus assignments here if you decide you'd like to work on those. And there's YouTube videos for those, or at least one of the 2. Here's the PowerPoint for chapter 2. And these are also bonus. And so if we look at the outline of topics, what are we covering? What are we supposed to be reading? Go to the outline of topics and you can look at the PDF. Today's the 29th, and we'll be looking at chapter 3 and chapter 4. And so if I go to my digital textbook and I look at chapter 3, Introduction to Drawing and Editing, we'll go through how to use these commands like the line command, erase and undo. Coordinate systems. And this ties into that general design assignment where we're using coordinate entry, and it's not fun. You know, I use polar entry, and there's much better, easier ways to do this, but we want you to know how to get specific dimensions in precisely created parts. Things like how to use ortho mode or orthogonal, meaning lines are going to be straight, horizontal, or vertical. So the theory is good. It goes through and gives you the concepts. And then the exercises themselves, the labs kind of drive that. So with that, I'm going to end the weekly Zoom meeting, stop the recording, and I'll post it. And then I'll open things up for questions.